everybody, I'm Kenzie.
And I'm Joey.
And for the last year and a half or so, we've actually been living in our own self-converted Sprinter van. We built the thing out when we were 19. We're now almost 21. He's been 21. I'm almost 21. We took on a new endeavor this year because we loved the whole process of building our van. We've loved living in it, and we really want to be able to share that lifestyle with other people that maybe don't have the resources to do it themselves. So we decided that we would start doing a couple client builds. So we are super excited to show you guys today our very first client build. Without wasting any time, let's get into it.
This particular build is a 2018 Ford Transit high roof extended. In comparison to Sprinters, these Fords are actually 6 inches taller, but a few feet shorter. So you pick and choose on the height versus length, diesel versus gas. This one's gas, so it's just whatever your preference is.
So when you first step into the van, you'll notice one major difference in comparison to ours, and that is this beautiful partition wall. This provides a lot more privacy and a full-length mirror, which is awesome. So this door slides to cover this gap here and actually has a latch, so you can lock it from the inside if you would like, and there's a keyhole on the other side of it if you wanted to lock it from that side. And moving over this way, we have a awesome wet room, and we do not have a full bathroom in our van. We do have a composting toilet, but this one has all the bells and whistles. We have a composting toilet in here. This is a Sunmar composting toilet. Works a little bit differently, has a little different dimensions, but aesthetically is really pleasing in the space and basically functions the same. We do have real porcelain tile in this van, and I know that one of the concerns that people bring up with doing tile is the weight issue. However, in this small of a space, you're really only adding at tops a couple hundred pounds, and one of the ways to make up for the weight of the tile is to use a foam backer board. So we actually used what's called a weddy board. That is so light that it in comparison to using like a cement board and then tile on top, you're really not adding a ton of extra weight, and these vehicles are also made to carry cargo. Another thing we utilized to make it even more suitable for something that's on the road, vibrating a lot, we used a silicone rubber grout, and it is a specially formulated grout, but it is made of a certain kind of silicone, so it actually dries flexible and allows for some vibration, whereas cement grout can just kind of crack over time and crumble, and you may end up having to re-grout. Moving over to the kitchen, we installed an induction cooktop in this van, which I just turned it on. We have propane in our van, and we like it, but it is a hassle sometimes to get propane, and there's always that safety factor. So we decided to go with induction for this one. It looks amazing and sleek because we flush mounted it, and we'll show you in a minute the battery bank he has to power this, because it is definitely not a concern what this thing pulls. And then right below it, we have actually the same fridge that we have in our own van. That is the Nomadic CRX 100. It is, I think, about a 3 cubic feet fridge. It's been plenty of space for us, and we absolutely love it. It has a little freezer up above, totally suitable for a few pints of ice cream. The countertop we got was actually an unfinished poplar butcher block when we bought it, and we did all the finishing on it. So we did a few different stains to kind of get a mix of something that had some gray tones and kind of matched the flooring. And so that was all oil-based stains, and then we did a satin polyurethane on top of it, so it has like a nice satin sheen, and it's very, very slick, but also has a little bit of a more homey feel since the rest of the van is very modern. We did another real tile backsplash here. These are actually marble tiles, and again, they're grouted with the same silicone rubber grout to allow for that vibration when the van is moving. One of the things that we never want to skimp on, even living in a van, is having a nice big sink, because nothing is worse than dealing with a tiny RV sink. You're trying to wash a cutting board and you're getting water everywhere. So this is, I believe, a 10-inch deep sink, so it's nice and deep, and it's like 15 by 15. And then we also have a separate drinking water spigot, and then this faucet, which is great for spraying spraying down the sink or doing dishes. We have this set up in our van as well, where we have a separate spigot for drinking water, and we actually really like it as opposed to having something like a Brita filter or whatever, because it's not something you have to think about. As long as you're filling up with potable water, you can drink out of your drinking water and not have to worry that there's a bunch of nasty stuff in it like there always is in tap. This next thing is something that I really wish we had in our van, and that is this little slide out pantry. We find ourselves kind of struggling to store especially like canned goods and things like that in our own van, and so this is something that will really come in handy for that. It also has a separate little utensil drawer that comes out here, so you can store all of your forks and spoons and knives and things. Under the sink we have another full extension drawer, and this would be an ideal space for putting a trash can, maybe some cleaning supplies, whatever you really want. And then the plumbing is pretty easily accessible back here. For additional kitchen storage, we also have some overhead cabinets. We have all these supported on gas struts. This one actually has an outlet inside, and we kind of added the detail of the wallpaper that we have in the rest of the van in the backs of the cabinet, and I think it just kind of ties the whole theme together and gives it a very modern geometric look. So from the kitchen you also have really easy access to these two switches, and one of them is under cabinet lighting, another luxury that we wish we had in our own van, and then this one is actually the water pump. This particular part of the van houses a lot of storage space. So this is actually a little closet and has a dowel for hanging clothes. Hanging space, I think, is definitely a big luxury in a van. Again, something that we don't have. Sometimes we'd like to have it. So he's got plenty of hanging space here, and there is also a light in here so that, you know, especially at night, if things are kind of shadowed, you can easily see even all the way in the back of your cabinet. I also forgot to mention earlier that there is a second light switch in here, and that provides light in the bathroom. We have one last switch in the closet, and that is for the hot water heater. And I think that having the hot water heater on a separate switch makes a huge difference, because you're not flipping your hot water heater on every single time you turn your inverter on. You can have your inverter on powering all your outlets and maybe some other things, but you're not necessarily running your hot water heater unless you absolutely need it. Below the hanging space we have some inset drawers. Again, more storage. So these are all full extension drawers. There's some narrower ones on top, and then some nice deep drawers down here. Now here's where we have a little nook, a kind of seating area, and this is kind of one of the reasons I say that this build is really ideal for one person. If you had two people in here, you'd probably want seating for two people, but this is perfectly fit for one person. So you can sit down here, and you have a nice little slide out desk here. You can eat, do work on a laptop, whatever you need to do, without having like a separate table or something that you have to store, and it just slides back in here nicely. And then next to me I also have 4 USB charging ports and electric outlets, so it's easy to work on a laptop, charge your phone, do whatever you need to do right here. This is something else you don't often see in a van, and that is a microwave. So this was just a particular ask from our client, and we are always happy to provide whatever somebody sees important to them. It's probably not something that we would ever put in our own build, but again, like, everybody lives different lives, has different needs, and I think that's the really cool part about doing custom builds, is that you can really tailor a build to somebody's lifestyle and the things that they use the most. For even more storage, below this bench we have one last big drawer. In this cabinet here, we actually have a control center, sort of. So this right here helps you monitor your inverter. You can actually flip it on and off from here. You can put it to a charging only setting, and it would also give you some warning labels if you ever were to overload it or you had low battery, anything like that, so that you don't have to get back into the garage to see what's going on. Next to it, we have a water gauge, also super handy for not having to go back and see how much water you have. It's just like a gas gauge on a car, basically. It tells you how empty or full your tank is. Below that we have a battery monitor. This is from Victron, and it works with his Battleborn batteries to tell him what percentage he's at, how many amp hours he has. This little switch here is connected to a motorized ball valve that is connected to his gray water tank. So wherever you're somewhere where you can responsibly dump, it is easy to do so just by flipping a switch. The ball valve will open and you can dump your gray water wherever. This fun little colorful remote actually controls some toe kick lighting under the kitchen cabinet, which I didn't show you when we were showing you the kitchen. But just kind of a fun feature to add some character and some color into the van. This remote right here actually controls his fantastic fan. And this is an upgrade from the model that we have in our own van, and I'm kind of convinced that we might need one because I can sit right here and turn it on. You can probably hear it in the background, and it has like 20 different speeds as opposed to the 3 that ours has. It also has a rain sensor, so if in the middle of the night, let's say you had your fan running, let me turn this down a little bit. If you had your fan running in the middle of the night and it started raining, it would actually sense that dew point and close the fan. But if it ever did that faultily, like it was, you know, I don't know, maybe foggy or something, and it decided to close it, but you actually wanted it open, you can actually override that and say, no, keep it open. And then you have a little more control over it that way. This is one of the more unique features of this van that I am absolutely in love with, and that is this beautiful skylight. So we decided to keep the van pretty stealthy, and that's why we didn't add any side windows on this one. These back windows were already there when he bought the van, but you don't want to necessarily sacrifice having natural light, and so we achieved that with this skylight. So this actually does have a hatch, and you can open it to 3 different levels, and you can open it almost all of the way. There's some noisy planes outside, so I apologize if you're hearing that this whole video. But you can also set it to just barely open, so that you can even have it open while it's raining, and it would just kind of fall right over it and not get into the van necessarily. It has a bug screen, and on the other side, a blackout. So if you don't like to wake up with the sun blaring in your face, you can put this over before you go to bed and sleep in peacefully. There's one last overhead cabinet right here. Again, on a gas strut, easy to access from right here. And that is pretty much it for the back of the van. Nothing super crazy. We decided to keep this whole side open because you can probably tell that having the shower and the closet and the kitchen and the fixed bed, it takes away the open feel in comparison to other layouts. So having this open actually really does make it feel a bit bigger. That's why we didn't put more overhead cabinets here, because it really just would have closed in the space. Now we're going to take you around to the back of the van, and I'll have Joey explain all of the fun features we have back there.
Moving on to the back of the van, we've got our garage space underneath the bed. When we first walk in, we've got this guy on a light switch. We've got 2 puck lights, so we can kind of illuminate everything in his garage area, and all of his electrical and water system. Starting left to right, we've got our fill line over here. We and our client really wanted to keep this van as stealthy as possible. We didn't want big receptacles or big like cutouts in the side of the van that are pretty much dead giveaways that somebody is like camping or living in there. So this is our fill line feeding our 30-gallon freshwater tank, which is right below our batteries right there. He will have it on a quick disconnect, so when he finds some potable water, he can hook his water fill valve up to there, and he can fill up his 30-gallon freshwater tank. We have a 2.5-gallon Bosch hot water heater, and behind that we have our SureFlow water pump, which feeds our sink and shower side. Moving on to batteries, we've got 500 amp hours worth of lithium powder-borne batteries. Let's talk about this fill line. So we have our freshwater tank underneath these batteries. All of the electrical is raised up, so in case anything were to ever happen, all the electrical should be safe. We put this sight hole for when he's filling up his freshwater tank. You can actually see as the water is rising, as it's getting full, he can stop it whenever. If he does overflow it, there is a vent, so it'll just spill on the ground, no big deal. Above that, we have our battery bank. These 500 amp hours are feeding our 3000 watt Victron inverter charge controller. Next to that, we have our 120 volt breaker panel. And next to that guy, we have our solar controller. It is a Renogy Rover 60 amp solar controller, or MPPT. MPPT? Mm-hmm. MPPT solar controller, which is being fed by 480 watts worth of solar on the roof.
Well guys, that brings us to the end of our tour. I hope you have enjoyed. This has been our project for the last 3 months, and it feels really good and really bittersweet to have it done. But we're super proud of it. We really love it. And
thank you guys to everyone who is following along throughout our build series.
Yeah, we dropped off our build series at the very end, but we really do appreciate those of you who were concerned about us asking where we were. We were just busy, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Priorities, sorry.
Yes, I do want to mention really quickly that we are actually looking to book another client, possibly 2 in the springtime. So if you guys are interested in having us build our van, build your van, then I'll leave a link.
Pay us to build my van.
No, I'll leave a link in our description. You guys can get in contact with us. If you guys have any additional questions, I'm sure there's plenty of things that we missed that we didn't cover in this video. So go ahead and leave those down in the comments, and we'll try to get to as many of you as possible. And as always, we just really appreciate all of you guys watching and supporting us and just seeing what we do. It's really cool.
We had an awesome time building it. We learned a lot. Excited to do it again.
Yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, again, comment any questions, and check out our van build inquiry, our website, and get in contact with us. We love to chat. Thanks guys.